In honor of the new consoles being released, I feel that it's only right that I take a look at a launch title for the Xbox 360. Yeah, I would check out the new consoles, but I've learned a thing or two over the years about purchasing consoles when they launch. So this game, Kameo Elements of Power, was, as previously stated, a launch title for the Xbox 360 and was developed by Rare. You know, before they became hollow shells of their former selves. At the time, it received generally favorable reviews, yet over the years this is really one of those titles that most people only vaguely remember at best. But now that we're here at the beginning of the 8th console generation, let's take a trip all the way back to 2005, when titles like this were at the top of the game. So this game takes place in a magical kingdom ruled by elves. The queen of the royal family passes down magical transformation powers to her adopted child, Kameo. This, however, doesn't bode over well with the queen's actual daughter, Callis. Callis, becoming jealous of Kameo, decides to use an ancient curse, which unleashes the evil troll king, Thorn. Thorn then uses his army of trolls, who were used as workhorses for the elves, to wreak havoc across the land and take the royal family hostage. On top of this, Kameo's elemental powers were stripped from her and scattered across the kingdom. And we're supposed to feel sorry for them? Look at it this way. The elves intentionally used the trolls' knowledge of technology to build their kingdom, essentially keeping them under their thumb. Also, there is something a bit, let's say, special about Kameo, which the royal family knows about, yet instead of letting either Kameo or Callis know about this, they instead lie to both of them and grant ancient powers to their adopted child instead. Look, all I'm saying is that when you oppress an entire race and intentionally mislead your children, leading them to become spiteful of you, it isn't weird when bad things begin to happen. Well, despite how you may feel about the situation, it's up to you to regain the 10 elemental powers, rescue Kameo's family, and defeat the troll army. The gameplay in this title is actually quite interesting. As you progress through the campaign, you will continually regain more of Kameo's powers. These powers allow you to transform into one of 10 potential elemental warriors. Each of these warriors have different attacks, special abilities, and handling, ranging from an octopus needed to traverse lakes, to a slime-type thing which can propel you up cliffs, and even a yeti who can climb up glaciers. Along with this, they all have special attacks which can be unlocked if you obtain a certain amount of special fruit. Knowing which elemental to use against certain enemies, along with solving puzzles, is key to progressing in the game. Overall, this title should take you somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 hours, but that's of course depending on how many side quests you wish to complete, or how much exploration you wish to perform. Now for the reviewing portion of this episode. Graphically speaking, it truly is amazing looking back at what was considered revolutionary for 2005. There are many gratuitous shots in this title that show off a large amount of individual character models at once. It's almost like Microsoft was trying to say, hey, look at how impressive our 500 megabytes of RAM is. Look at it! With that being said, however, there's actually a very large amount of detail that was put into the varied environments of this game. Regardless if it's a frosty ice stage, lush woodlands, or crystal clear lakes, the team at Rare did a great job with showcasing what the Xbox 360 was capable of handling. But even aside from the environments, each of the 10 elementals have a very distinctive look to them, and the enemies, although often duplicates, do have a respectable variety between the levels. The gameplay is actually quite varied in the respect that oftentimes you must jump from one elemental to another in order to progress through the stages or solve puzzles. As mentioned before, each elemental has its own attacks and handling, and the enemies will switch up quite often to keep you on your toes. The story, however, is where I'd say the game is at its weakest. The narrative is very rushed right out of the gate, and any amount of backstory that is given is obtained by talking to Kameo's relatives once they're rescued. Even so, once the answers are given, it still raises more questions as to the character's motives, but I already went into that. But in the end, can I recommend taking a look at this almost 9-year-old launch title? Well, it's not perfect, but I can say that taking a look at games that were cutting edge at the time, can really put into perspective just how much gaming has evolved, and watching that evolution occur before my very eyes only makes me more excited to see what this next generation holds for us. So if you are interested in this title, you can find it on Xbox Live for $15, or literally anywhere else for much, much cheaper. But regardless of your choice, you can rest assured that there are much worse launch titles that you could be playing.